Shukarupa Prabogatnya Sarvashastra Visharada Edat Kadam Sangena Madatnyanam Vinashyade. I bow to Sri Shuga, the great sage, who has given us this book by which our ignorance will be removed. Shivatsangam Mahoraskam Vanamala Virajidam Shankachakragadam Devam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. I bow to Lord Krishna, who is the great preceptor of the universe, who holds the conch and the discus in his hands and wears a beautiful garland of wild flowers, the Vanamala. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Atitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us be protected. Let us be nourished. Let our studies be done with a great enthusiasm, and may they lead us to the Supreme. And most of all, let us not have any occasion to fight with each other. That there be peace in the world, peace in the society, and peace within our own selves. Hari Om. That's it. Welcome all of you to our class on the Udhhava Geeta, which I did take one class before, but I think I will repeat that because, it's good for you to remind, because I think for most of you it must be the first time. So there was a question, how many Gitas are there? Actually, it said there are something like 60 Gitas. Most of them from the Mahabharata, but this Udhhava Geeta is actually from the Bhagavad Purana. Vyasa wrote this Bhagavad Purana. It's also known as Hamsa Geeta. Why is it called Hamsa? What is a Hamsa? Why do we call the Paramahamsa? Sri Ramakrishna is known as Paramahamsa. The Hamsa, the swan, is supposed to be able to have the ability to drink. If you mix a bit of milk and water and give him, he will drink the milk and leave the water. What does that mean? It means the Paramahamsa, if you call a person a Hamsa or Paramahamsa, it means that he has the ability to realize the real from the unreal. We all are living in the unreal world, but he has the power to understand the real from the unreal. So this is called the Hamsa Geeta also, because it actually will take us to a state where we do understand what is reality. Now, before we go further into the book, let me give another introduction, a far bigger introduction. And that introduction, I have to start from this Bhagavad Purana, because you all are familiar with the Bhagavad Gita, which comes from the Mahabharata, the center point of the Mahabharata. But this Udhhava Geeta comes from the Srimad Purana, Bhagavad Purana it comes from. Now, Bhagavad Purana was also written by Vyasa. Now, I'll tell you how he came to write it. Vyasa had written many things, as you know, the Mahabharata and the 18 Puranas, and he had bifurcated all the Vedas into 4. And yet, he found that he was in a sad state. At that time, the sage Narada came to him and asked him, "Oh Vyasa, why are you in this sad state? You should be the happiest of all people because you have done so much for the world." So Vyasa says, "I don't know why it is that I am in a very depressed state." And so Narada tells him, "I will tell you why you are in this state. It is because though you have written everything about dharma and adharma and how people should behave and how the great stories of the Pandavas, the Kuru kingdom and so on, you have not stressed the story of the Purnavatar, the greatest of all the avatars, Lord Krishna. So I advise you to write a book on him alone, and then you will find that you will get peace of mind." That is why Vyasa started to write the Bhagavad Purana, in which mainly the story of Lord Krishna, all the avatars are taken there, but mainly with accent on the story of Lord Krishna. So we will, and how is that Bhagavad Purana, how do we come here, and how does it come here to us? Now, for that we must go back to the Krishna avatar, because we must know something about the life of Krishna if we want to appreciate this particular book, because it's the last advice he gives. The advice he gives to Arjuna was at a very, height of their powers. But this is given at the end of his life. So there is a difference. Now, another thing with Lord Krishna is that you never find in the Bhagavad Purana or his life that he's constantly giving advice to everybody. We all love to give advice. We all ask people, come, I'll give you some good advice. But the fact is that advice, if it has to be given, should be given to someone who comes and asks for advice. In which case, the advice will follow. Otherwise, we just go around sprouting advice to everybody, all and sundry. They will not follow it. So Lord Krishna, you will find just 2 times he gives some advice. Not even to his children did he give an advice, because they had never asked him. They were full of, children are always like that. Children never think that their parents know anything. So they hardly ever ask their parents. They'd rather go and ask someone else. Therefore, he never gave his advice to his children, but he did give to his 2 great friends, Arjuna and Udhhava. Now, another thing you have to understand about these 2, there is difference in their characters. Arjuna was a mighty warrior, the Kshatriya, filled with ego that he knew everything and he could conquer the world. At that time, and he always considered himself to be a friend of Lord Krishna. Because even though vaguely he knew of the greatness of his friend, whom he thought of as friend, yet all the time, that attitude of a friend, that Sakya Bhava, what we call. In Hinduism, we have many bhavas to approach to God. That is, you can approach him in any way you like, not just as a father in heaven. You can approach him like that when you bring down his lordship, his greatness. But in Hinduism, there are many other approaches, like Sakya Bhava, that the bhava or the approach as a friend. You can have Dasya Bhava, that of a servant, that I am your servant. Now, or you can have Prema Bhava, that is of the gopi, that they consider him as a lover. And you can have Vatsalya Bhava, that means of great love of a parents to a child, which Yashoda, Devaki and all of them had towards Krishna. So, Udhhava is this thing of a Dasya Bhava. He always thought of himself as the Lord's servant. In fact, you will see how he has lived his life. So that is the difference. One considered himself as his equal, as a friend. The other considered himself as his dasya or his dasa or his servant. Now let us just touch vaguely, just briefly go through the life of Krishna. Now Krishna, I don't know whether you all know, he was actually born in the thing of the Yadav. He was a Yadava. Now, the Yadavas were a sect of people. At that time, at the time of Krishna's birth, they were not very great. They were not very victorious. I mean, the kingdom was, Bharata was being ruled by the Kurus of many different factions, many types, Panchalas, and so many different states were there, all trying to fight with each other and trying to get best of each other. And especially the king of Magadha, born in Bihar, Jarasandha, was one of the very mighty kings of that time. He was a very adharmic king also. Now, when Krishna was born, he was the nephew of the king of the Bhojas. Bhojas are one of the tribes, let's say, who were made up the Yadavas. Bhojas, the Andagas, the Vishnis, and many little tribes which made up the whole tribe called the Yadavas. So he was the king of the Bhojas, and he was ruling from Mathura. Their capital was Mathura. Now he was a very wicked king. He suppressed and depressed and killed people unnecessarily. In fact, when his own father demonstrated with him, what did he do? He simply threw him into jail, into the dungeon. So such a king he was. Now, when our story of Lord Krishna starts, it starts at the wedding of his father and mother. His mother Devaki was Kamsa's sister. And he said that he loved her very much. So let's see how much his love goes. She married one of the great chiefs of the Yadava tribe, whose name was Vasudeva. And the curtain arises at the time of the marriage. Now, Kamsa, to show how much he loved his dear sister, he went to the charioteer. But after the marriage, where the bridal couple was going to be taken to their palace, he said, no, he told the charioteer, come out, I shall myself drive this chariot and go along. So he took over the chariot and he was speeding along. Now, as I told you, in Bharat at that time was just crowded with very, very adharmic kings. And it is said that the earth goddess could not bear the weight of so much of wickedness on her. So she went to the heavens and begged Brahma, the creator, to help her. And Brahma said, the only person who can really help you is Vishnu. So let's go to Vishnu. So they went to Vishnu and begged him. And the earth deity begged him, please help me. Please come take an incarnation and kill all these wicked kings so that my burden will be lessened. So Vishnu said, Tadastu, that means, very good, I shall do so. And so the stage was set and ripe for the advent of an avatar of Lord Vishnu. So at that time, let's go back to Mathura, the people were cheering along on the roads, because it was always wise to cheer the king wherever he went, because you never know. If he didn't see someone cheering, he would say, off with his head. So they were going like that along the main road. Suddenly the whole aspect changed and dark clouds came along, and the clouds burst open and a voice from above said, "Oh Kamsa, beware, because the ninth child, the eighth child of this your sister is going to be your killer." Kamsa looked up. He couldn't see that. He was petrified when he heard this, and his love for his sister certainly vanished. And he jumped out of the chariot and dragged her by her jasmine-filled garlands and by her hair, jumped down and rose. And he took up his sword to cut off her head. So you can imagine the love which wicked people profess is very, very short-lived. They cannot show true love. They love only when it is of some use to them. If it's of no use to them, they're prepared to give up their love, give up their friendship, give up everything, even their parents if need be. So now, immediately Vasudeva also jumped out of the chariot and held his hand, which was holding the sword high, and said, "Oh Kamsa, please remember, you are going to commit a great sin if you kill a woman who is still so young and who has just been married and all her desires have not been fulfilled as yet. It will be a great crime on you." But what has she done, poor thing? She has not done anything. She's not going to be a threat to you. Her son, and her eighth son is supposed to be the one who will kill her. I give you my promise that any son a child that is born to us, I will hand it over to you. You can do what you like with it. So at last the hand came down, and he comes reluctantly said, "All right, you must give me over every child that is born." Then he thought to himself, "Oh no, I don't believe this man. Supposing he doesn't give it, much better I keep him under my eye." So he didn't bother to drive again. He told the charioteer to go take him to the dungeon. They were taken to the dungeon, and they were put in the dungeon along with his father also. Ugrasena was also the old man. He put his father in the dungeon. Now the fact is that the Devaki had one after the other. She had many children, 7, and each one the father would, Vasudeva would go and hand over to his to Kamsa, and Kamsa would dash them, kill them on a stone in front of Devaki's eyes. Now this time had come for the 8th, which was the one prophesied, which a prophecy had given. So again, Kamsa did not want to take any chances. So it is said that he tied them up. Both Vasudeva and Devaki were tied in the dungeon, chained in the dungeon to opposite pillars. So they could only see each other. They could not touch or have anything to do with each other. Now, of course, the divine cannot be deterred by chains or anything like that. So it is said that the Lord himself, appeared in Vasudeva's mind in all his glory as the form of Vishnu, and that the whole of Vasudeva's face was transformed, and he was looking so happy. And Devaki asked him, "What is it that you have to rejoice? We are such unfortunate people that we are here, and if that prophecy is to be done, that even that is denied to us." So Vasudeva described to her in detail the glorious form of Lord Krishna, of Vishnu rather. And it is said that his Shakti or his Virya or his seed was transferred to her via that form, and she conceived. Now she conceived and she looked so glorious that when Kamsa used to come and visit regularly, and he was wondering what is happening. Anyway, he told the guards, he doubled the guards, he told everybody, be very careful, if at all, because somehow, I suppose the divine itself stopped him from killing her then and there. He said, let it be. When she told the guards, you tell me the moment she gives birth, you should let me know. So they were agreed, of course, and when the time came for delivery, and she delivered. And when she delivered, it is said that for a few seconds, he showed his original form of Vishnu, Shankha Chakra Gada Hasta, carrying the corn and the discus, and wearing the garland and holding the hand in his beautiful form, a small little tiny form he showed to his parents to make them happy, to make them understand that don't worry, I will take care of you. I will see that the prophecy is fulfilled. But he told Vasudeva, look, you have to take me out immediately, and go across the river Yamuna and go to the small little cowherd settlement called Gokula. And there the wife of the Yashoda, who is the wife of the chief of the cowherd settlement, has just delivered a baby girl. You must go there and interchange. Put me next to her and take away the baby girl and come back immediately. So they said that, and immediately the child was as if it's, started crying and the usual thing. He didn't cry, he didn't cry. Actually, it became a little baby once again. So then Vasudeva said, I have to take him immediately, that's what we've been told. And she quickly, Devaki did not want to leave him, such a bundle of joy he was. But Vasudeva snatched the child from her hands and held him. And he thought to himself, oh my God, I forgot to ask him, how do I get out of this dungeon? But anyway, he had absolute faith. So he carried the darling little boy in his arm. And as he went, he found that his chains automatically dropped off, and he walked towards the dungeon doors, which automatically opened out. And he found that at every door, the guard was standing with a spear. They were sleeping on the spear like that. So nobody knew him. He just walked out of the whole gate after gate opened up before him, and he went out. When he went out, he found there was a terrible rain. It was midnight, remember. Krishna was born in the darkness of midnight. So he went down and he found it was raining. And somehow he stepped out, he tried to hug and fold him in the small little clothes which they had. But he suddenly found that actually no drop of rain seemed to be falling on us. He didn't know what it was, but it is said that the snake on which Lord Vishnu lies, Shesha, acted as an umbrella over her. Then he went towards the Yamuna. Yamuna was in spate. It was flooded and in spate. How was he ever going to cross over this? They had no bridges and naturally no boats at that time of the night. But having full faith in the Lord, he just started walking, and the Yamuna just parted, gave him enough room to go through a small path by which he went through, and he walked fast and reached the little settlement, the cowherd settlement. whereas Krishna had foretold, there was the Yashoda, the wife of Nandagopa, the chief of the cowherd settlement, had just given birth to a little baby girl. Now it is said somehow or other after the birth, she seemed to have fallen into some unconscious state. And there was nobody else either, for some reason, all of course very mysterious and all arranged by Lord himself. So it was easy enough for Vasudeva to keep his baby boy there and take the baby girl with him, and back he went. With great reluctance, looking backwards again and again at that darling little face in which he had kept next to Yashoda. He returned the same way, and as soon as he went into the dungeon, handed over the child to his wife, and went back to his pillar, and the chains came round him. The guards woke up, and they jumped up, and the little child started howling her head off. And the guards ran to Kamsa's palace and said, look, she had given birth again. Kamsa rushed out. Day and night he was always thinking of Krishna, it is said. Look at him. Even yogis, will not be able to think like that about God all the time. But Kamsa is so frightened. That's why it is said in the Krishnavatar that you can get moksha or liberation even through fear. Because when the mind is concentrated on something, either through love or fear, that mind is single-pointed. So that is why he was, he attained moksha in the hands of Krishna later on. Now he took up his sword. He didn't bother about his keeping his crown or anything, and rushed through the rain. In fact, it was raining, and he went to this thing, and he took up the child, snatched the child from Devaki's arm, and was all set to smash her on the little the stone on which he had smashed all the other children. And Devaki caught hold of his legs and said, "Oh brother," he said, "please spare me this one child at least. Only the boy has been foretold that, and the boy is to kill you. This is only a girl. Please spare me this." So Kamsa said, "Girl or boy, what do I care? It has been prophesied that the 8th child will be my killer." So he took it and was just going to dash it when actually this child was really the mother goddess herself, the divine mother herself. So, and because Vishnu had told her to take birth in this, and she slipped from his hands and rose up in the high and showed him her divine form and said, "Oh Kamsa," she said, "I can kill you myself now, but I will not do it actually because your killer is already ordained. It's already ordained, and therefore is already born, and therefore I am not the one to kill you." So she disappears. So Kamsa was frantic. Now he didn't know what to do, because she herself had said that the child was born. Where was it? And it is said after that he set up a persecution of all babies, the killer of babies, one of the worst sins that a person can commit. And all the babies born during that time, within a period in say 1 week or 2 weeks, they were indiscriminately killed everywhere, all over. His people went all over the place killing babies. Now, of course, it is naturally, we won't go into the full story of Lord Krishna's miracles when he was in Gokulam, but he grew up there as a cowherd boy. He was very happy. As you know, Krishna's greatest thing was whatever he did, he threw himself, heart and soul, to whatever he did. If he was a cowherd boy, he was a true cowherd boy. Danced and sang with the cowherds. Took the cows to the forest when he was small, and then started taking the cows when he became bigger. He dallied with the cowherd girls. Everything he did exactly as if he was that. That is the greatness of his thing. That he always threw himself, heart and soul, to anything he did. The present moment was the most important. That is the lesson he teaches us. This present moment. So then, until the age of 12, he was there. Then at that time, at the age of 12, Kamsa had tried many things. Kamsa had some idea that somebody went and told him, "Look, this boy who is apparently Nanda Gopal's son is actually Devaki's son. So you should kill him. Narada always loves to do this because only then, if he meddles a little bit, only then there is an opportunity for the Lord to show his Leelas, which is very important for all of us. We love to hear the Leelas. So then Kamsa sent word to all the villages that they should come to pay their tax. And he set a certain time for them. So at the age of 12, Krishna and Balarama both were taken in carts, in the bullock carts, to the Mathura, the great city. They had never seen the city before. They were all very excited and jumping up and down with joy and singing, happily singing away. And the boys were taken there. And as they were, of course, Krishna pretended that he was quite amazed by this beautiful city. Of course, what is there to amaze? The Lord of all the world. Oh, Vishwatma, Vishwanatha. And therefore he went there. And they walked, all the cowherd, all of them walked down the great grand road of Mathura. Now in those days, Mathura was a great city. And they had sprinkled water so that dust will not be there. And flowers and so on. And people were happy. And there were a number of things. So he walked down that main road. And it is said that Kamsa arranged two hefty, very big wrestlers to kill him at the time. Because at that time there was wrestling matches were being held. And he had arranged with two wrestlers to kill him at that time, at the age of 12. Okay? Now the fact is that he did, not only he killed the wrestlers, but he also killed his own uncle Kamsa. And he released Ugrasena, the king, and made him king. But the thing is that he found that Mathura was a very, the focus of all, and there were many, malignant and negative sort of kings, especially that great king Jarasandha, who used to attack because they wanted to take over the Yadavas also. And therefore, it is said that he took his entire tribe, all his people, and maybe the forced march or something like that, to the west coast, where he built the beautiful town of Dwaraka. Now this Dwaraka was not, obviously he must have, took it out of the ocean. It was, what do you call it, reclaimed land from the ocean. The Dwaraka was like a monastery over there, and one of those fantastic cities that you can ever hope. Actually, the description of Dwaraka is given in the both in Mahabharata and in the Bhagavad Purana, has been verified in recent times because underwater divers have, unlike Mathura, where it's and Vrindavan and so on, where people have come and built over and over, because 5,000 years ago, you must understand. So many other people have come and stayed over there. But Dwaraka, because it was under the sea, has been totally preserved even today. If you can take a diver on one of these and go down into the that west coast off the coast of the present day Dwarka, you will actually find that this beautiful town of Dwarka, and exactly as described, one of the most fantastic towns. I don't have to go into that now. But what I'm saying, we have to come back to Udhhava Geeta. I get taken away by the life of Krishna. But what I'm saying is that when he came to Mathura at the age of 12, then naturally he must have met all the other Yadava children of the great Yadava kings, and not the kings so much, the chieftains. They were there, and Udhhava was one of them. Udhhava was one of those who had met him at the age of 12. That is why you will find very soon, I'm going to start off the Udhhava Geeta now, and you will find that he says how I have been your servant from the time, I have known you from the age of 12. I've been with you from the age of 12 till now. So that is the situation now. That's why I've said this story. Now, you can, I think all of you are fairly familiar with the Bhagavad Gita. Now, the Bhagavad Gita was done at the time when Krishna, another thing with Krishna, that he never took up a kingdom for himself. He made what is his name? Anyway, I forget his name. I already told you the name, but I've forgotten it. He made him the king of the Yadavas, and he was ruling from Dwaraka, because they all shifted to Dwaraka really. Only part of their place was in Mathura. So he never took kingdom for himself, but he wanted to see that the whole country was be cleared of these adharmic kings. And for that, his chosen people was the Pandavas. You know that? If you see the Pandava, that story, I have told you before I start the Bhagavad Gita, I always give you the background of the story in the Bhagavad Gita. So they were terrible, the Pandavas were made to suffer a lot. Eventually, they had to fight a war which was forced upon them. They tried to avert the war, but the Kauravas were so wicked, and they forced the war on them. And at that time, when there was the huge, all the kings would support, were related to them also. So, because they were cousins. Therefore, the kings made a pact to themselves, whoever comes to me first, we will help them. Because otherwise, usually you will help your own relatives. But in this case, both were related to them. Both sides were related. So they decided that whoever would come first would be helped by them. Now, both Duryodhana and Duryodhana knew that if Krishna was went to one side, Krishna's army, Yadava army at that time, the height of their power, very, very great. Nobody could defeat them. There were such wonderful warriors were there, including Udhhava, including many of his Krishna's sons also. They were there. So, they knew they could not be beaten. So, Duryodhana went to Dwaraka to ask Krishna to help him. Same time, Arjuna also goes. Now, Duryodhana took, there was a chair kept at the feet of Krishna. Krishna was sleeping. So, Duryodhana took the chair and put it at the head. Arjuna stood with folded palms at his feet. Now, when Krishna woke up, who should he see first? The one at the feet or the one at the head? Naturally, he saw Arjuna and said, Arjuna, I'm so happy to see you. And Duryodhana said, I've also come. So he said, what have you all come for? So they said they want his head. So it is said that Krishna said, all right, I will give now both of you are dear to me, or you're related to me. So therefore, I will give my crack regiment, the Narayana Sena, to one side, and I myself will go to another side. And Duryodhana said, oh, no, that's very unfair. So Krishna said, what's unfair about it? So he said, well, if you, whatever side you go and fight, definitely that side will win. You are a master yogi. Therefore, you must promise, you can go to one side, but you must promise not to take up arms. So Krishna laughed and said, and you think that is a fair kind of division? Duryodhana said, yes. So he asked Arjuna, are you okay with it? Arjuna said, yes. So Krishna said, all right, me alone on one side, unarmed, unresisting, and without taking fighting. And on the other side, my crack regiment, the Narayana Seva, in which my own sons, many of them are there. But still, I'll give the first choice to Arjuna because I saw him first. So he asked Arjuna, which do you want, Krishna? Me alone, unarmed, or my Sena, my army? Arjuna unhesitatingly said, I want only you, O Krishna. Now that is the reason why Krishna helped him so much. I've already told you this when I was talking about in Bhagavad Gita, but I'm repeating this for those who have not actually been on the Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita talk. So then, this is the reason, because the bhakta, the devotee who totally surrenders to the Lord, to that devotee, the Lord is prepared to do anything for that devotee. Even to the extent of getting a bad name for himself, you will find that Krishna helped them all the time. And that is why, even though they had a far smaller army than the Kauravas, they still won the war. Now, that is over. The war was over. And when, at the end of the war, when Krishna tells the Pandavas, you will have to go and pay your obeisance to the Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, the parents of the Kauravas, who all the Kauravas, 100 sons were killed by Bhima. He had taken an oath that day, that when they insulted his wife like that, he had taken an oath, I myself will kill every one of them, and he had done so. So they went, and Bhima was very frightened, because we didn't know if they came and hugged him or something, he would. The Rasha was still very strong. So actually, Duryodhana had made an iron effigy of Bhima on which he used to practice fighting. So when the Rasha opened out his arms and asked Bhima to come to him, Krishna very quickly put that iron effigy into his arms instead of Bhima, and that iron effigy fell into fragments, it is said, because it was great hate against Bhima who had killed his son. Now Gandhari, Gandhari says, instead of cursing Bhima or the other Pandavas for having killed her son, she gave a curse to Lord Krishna himself. She turned to Krishna, she can't see, her eyes are tied, but she turned to Krishna and said, you are the root cause of all this. You could have stopped the war if you wanted, but you did not. Why did you not? And you have allowed my sons to be killed. And therefore I curse you, O Krishna, that one day your tribe, your whole tribe will come to an end, and 30 years from now, she said, your tribe will also come to an end. And the women of your friends and your relations, they will be weeping as today the widows of my sons are weeping. This is the curse she gives to Krishna. And Krishna, of course, as usual, is very happy. I accept your curse, he said. Oh mother, I accept your curse, because things will happen as are meant to happen. And your curse is only a cause for them to happen. Now, that is finished. And for the next 30 years, Bharat enjoyed a wonderful, peaceful reign of Yudhishthira. The Pandavas were great rulers. Yudhishthira himself was a very just, very noble, highly dharmic person. And his rule was wonderful. The whole country was united for the first time. After the Ram Rajya, the time of Sri Rama, the country had been united. And we have heard what a wonderful time Rama Rajya was, the reign of Rama. Now, after that, this is the first time that Bharat had been united, and it's a very peaceful, very wonderful time for the whole country. Now, the 30 years were coming to an end, and Krishna knew it was coming to an end, and he knew that it was time. Now, the fact is, then we come back to the present, almost to the where Udhhava Geeta starts. Krishna knew that the Yadavas, had become very, very haughty. And not only, you usually will find that money corrupts. And too much money corrupts totally. So the Yadavas were one of the mightiest warriors. There was nobody in the whole of Varsha who could stand against them. And they had jewels and boats, and they were a great naval power also. There was nothing which would stop them, and the young people started degenerating. All the high ideals they had before, like practicing of yoga and sadhana and so much respect for the rishis and so on, all that was slowly debauchery, drinking, and all the different types of womanizing, all these things, these negative and adharmic stuff slowly crept into the society. And Krishna knew nobody who could stop the Yadavas. The only person who could stop him was he himself. And he didn't want to leave this. It was time, he knew, the time for him to leave this world. And he didn't want to leave it in leaving alone his own tribe, who he knew. He knew that they would be the next sect of Adharmis, and they would had to be, and nobody would ever be able to kill them. Only he himself could do so. In order, and also the time was approaching. 30 years was almost at an end. The time was approaching for Gandhari's curse to come to pass. So he had arranged everything in such a way that it happened that once, as I said, even the sons of Krishna were filled with debauchery and filled with arrogance, and they just flung the, you see very often, you see the very rich political leaders of the country, how the sons are very, very filled with ego and they think they can do anything. Well, very same situation was there at that time. So once at that time it is said that some great sages came to visit Dwaraka, and these the younger people led by Krishna's own son, Samba, his name is Samba, by his wife Jambavati. They dressed up Samba as a pregnant woman with lots of clothes and so on. And they thrust her in front of the rishis, and in a very mock, manner which of subservience, inside they are filled with ego. They said, "Oh, great sages, this poor woman is carrying a child, and she's very anxious to know the sex of her child. And we know that you are so great that you will easily look at her and tell her the sex of that. So please put her out of her misery and tell her whether her child in her womb will be a girl or a boy." The rishis gave one look at them and pronounced a terrible curse. They said, "It will be neither a girl nor a boy, but it will be an iron pestle by which the whole of your nation, the whole of your tribe will be destroyed." And the boy laughed out loud at the stupidity of the rishis, and the rishis moved on. But their laughter soon changed into amazement, because very soon this Samba was writhing with pain, and when they took out all the clothes, out of it came one iron pestle, exactly as told by the rishis. They didn't know what to do. They were very frightened. They did not dare to go to Krishna. They ran to the king, Ugrasena, the king Ugrasena, and they told the whole story and placed the pestle before him. Again, Ugrasena also, due to the Lord's own desire, did not call Krishna, though he always used to do it. Instead of which, he gave this pestle to some ironmonger and told him to grind it to powder. So the ironmonger ground it to powder, but one small piece, that big, could not be ground. Anyway, they threw the whole thing into the sea. Now these little bits of the little bits of the iron filings were swept up to the shore near Prabhasa. In fact, the whole thing was swept to the Prabhasa, and there it is said they grew up into some type of reeds called the errata reeds, which were as strong as swords, which had serrated edges. You see some type of cactus like that with serrated edges, and the filing was swallowed by a fish. The little bit, not the filings. The filings became grass, errata reeds, and the little bit was swallowed by a fish, and the fish was swallowed by was caught by a fisherman. Which when he opened it, he saw this bit of iron. In those days, iron was quite rare, you see. So they needed iron for those who had warriors always needed, hunters also needed an iron to have to make the little arrow. Tip of the arrow was made with iron. So his son was a hunter. So he gave over that little bit to his son, who filed it and made into an arrowhead. So let that be now. I will tell you the rest of the story later on when it's time. But now we will go back to the actual Udhhava Geeta. This was that scene there at that time. And then the Bhagavad Purana gives us, says us, when Krishna was relaxing by himself, it is said that all the gods came down to extol him. They came and they knew it was last time they would see him in this beautiful form. So they came down and extolled him, all of them, the Gandharvas and the Kinnaras and the Apsaras and all of the Indra and all the other ones came and extolled him. At last they left, and Brahma himself, the creator Brahma himself, came and he extolled him and said, oh Lord, he said, you have so many years ago, 125 years have passed since I came to you and asked you to take birth in order to clean the burden of the earth. And you did that, and everything has been finished, and everything is wonderful. And only your own tribe remains, which can prove to be a terror to the rest of the world. And therefore, I know you've already made arrangements that they will also perish at your command. So I know now it is time for you to leave, and I'm inviting you, please come back to your divine abode. So Krishna said, yes, I know that. The time has come, and I have made the arrangements, and I will see that I will definitely come back to this thing very soon. So he said, yes. And in 7 days, he says that Dwaraka will also fall. Because Dwaraka also, I told you, it was reclaimed land from the ocean. He said in 7 days, Dwaraka will go back into the sea from which I reclaimed it. And nothing will be left to say about this glory of this city. Having said that, the Brahma saluted him and he went back. Now, usually Udhhava was always with him, never left him for even a second. But for some reason, the Lord did not want him around and all these things were happening. So he himself had sent him off somewhere for some reason or the other, contrived reason. When Udhhava came back to Dwaraka, he heard about all these things. All the premonitions, that whole city of Dwaraka seemed to be writhing in some agony actually. And instead of beautiful chanting and mantras which used to be heard, all signs or songs of debauchery and all lewd sort of songs were being held. And it is said that the accoutrements of the Lord, Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Hasta, all these, we say the Vanamali Gadishargi, these are the accoutrements of the Lord. These used to go round and round the city, patrolling the city and keeping it like a kavach. They had also disappeared. So he knew. And then some people told me, have you heard of the curse of the Rishi? He said, no, what happened? So they told him the whole story. And he realized, and Krishna did, where was Krishna? They said, no, we don't know anything, he did nothing. Then it struck him like a terrible bomb, as it were. He realized that the Lord has decided that he was going to leave this country and this planet totally. Then he ran around to find him. Where was he? And he threw himself at his feet and said, oh Lord of Lords, you Master Yogi that you are, I have heard that you have decided to leave this world. You've decided to kill your own kinsman and leave this world. Because if you had wanted, you could easily have stopped the curse of the Rishi. The very fact that you chose not to do so, shows that definitely you have decided that this is the end. So he says, I cannot bear this. I can't bear this when I think that you're going to leave. I cannot bear this. Remember, he says, Naham ta angrigangulam kshanadam abhikeshava tektum samutse nada sudhama mavi. Naham ta angrigangulam kshanenam adhusujan. He said, I cannot leave. I couldn't imagine living without the darshan or the sight of your holy lotus feet, even for a second. Naham tav angrighalam kshanardam abhikeshava. I cannot leave it. I cannot even believe I can live if I have to leave these lotus feet even for a second. Tektum, I cannot leave it. Swadhamanam, therefore, O Lord, I know that you're going to leave this world. Please take me with you. This is actually the start of the Udhhava Geeta. When Udhhava she sees Lord sitting in a quiet place and throws himself at his feet and begs him, please take me, I cannot live without you. So Yogesha Yoga Krishna. I can read a bit of this if you like, but I need glasses for that. Devadevesha Yogesha Punyashravana Kirtana Samrudat Puram Nunam Logam Sabtyaksha Devimam Viprashabam Samartosi Pratyakshana Pradishwara Naham Tvangrigalam Shanardamai Keshava Tektum Samutsahe Nada Sudamana Yamami. You have not even you averted this curse of the rishis, but I know that you're going to leave, so please take me. Then he says, maybe other people can leave you and not feel anything. But for me, from the age of 12, what have I done? I've been like your shadow. You know what? I have only worn the clothes that you wore today, I would wear tomorrow. The garlands and the angans that you wore today, I would take and have tomorrow. What would I eat? I would eat the remnants of your food, the prasad. After you eat something, usually when we say that prasad is a very holy thing, that is what is being offered to God. This thing, that prasad, the leftovers, that is a great thing. Now, for holy people, the food which people leave, nobody likes to eat. But in the case of a holy person, it is said that the leftover, the remnants of their food, or if they give some food from you into your hand, that food is supposed to be like nectar. So he said, I have always eaten only the remnants of your food. I have never asked for food for myself. And therefore, every minute, every second, I have only smelt you and heard you and thought of you, and my whole mind and your whole body is always around and listening. How can I ever leave you? Oh Lord, he says, please help me, please take me with you. Don't leave me behind, because I know you're going to go now. This is this thing of Krishna. He said, Uddhava says, great yogis who have practiced so much of this thing by controlling of the breath, doing yoga and doing so many other things, they may be able to live without you. They may be able to attain liberation without you. But not me, and not poor people like me, devotees like me, who have only enjoyed the fragrance of your lotus feet, who have only lived to be your servants. Such people, what will we do when you leave? Please, oh Lord, please tell me what it is that we should do in order to gain you. So the rest of this thing of the Udhhava Geeta, I told you it's known as Hamsa Geeta. It takes the essence of everything. He takes the essence of the teachings of all other scriptures, including Upanishads, and he gives that essence to Uddhava, not because Uddhava needs it. Uddhava is already a liberated soul, having lived in the shadow of the great Lord for how many years? From the age of 12, as he said. How can he not be liberated? There is no question of Uddhava ever wanting, having to do anything else to get liberation. But Uddhava keeps asking for the sake of those who are going to come back in this yuga. That's why Lord Krishna says, Uddhava, he says, you have many, this, as soon as, yes, you are right, he says, you are right. I have decided to leave this planet. I have decided to give up this body. But for you, there is many more things to be done. You will be my messenger, actually. You will be the one who is to give this message which I am going to give you. That message you should give to the rest of the world. That is your duty. You still have a duty in this world before you give it up. You cannot come with me. So take this message, ask what you want, and let that message help all those who are going to come. Because remember, the moment I leave my body, Kali Yuga will set in. Kali Yuga, the Iron Age, in which there is total destruction of any humane qualities. We see that now. Brother against brother, children against parents, and indiscriminate killing in the name of religion itself. So this sort of thing, he said, will happen as soon as Kali Yuga sets in, and will happen as soon as I have left this planet. Therefore, he said, don't stay here anymore. Get Udhhava Badrika Ashram. There at the back you can see, that is a photo of Badrinath temple. So So that was at that time the temple was there, but this not like this, of course. So he tells Udhhava, please go to the Himalayas, where in this place called Badrikashramam. There you must sit and meditate, become a sannyasi, take up sannyas. You're just the opposite of what he told Arjuna. Remember that. What did he tell Arjuna? He told Arjuna, do not, when Arjuna said, I want to take up sannyas, I would rather be a sannyasi and give up everything than fight with my own people. And he says, no, sannyasa is not for you. You are a fighter, you are a kshatriya, you have to go out to the battlefield and fight. Just the opposite he tells Udhhava. He says, no, time has come for you. There is no longer time in this world for you. Take up sannyas, go to the Badri ashram, bathe in the icy cold waters of the Alagananda, and then in the boiling hot waters of Taptakund. Even today you can do that. Even today it's possible. Taptakund, boiling water of Taptakund is there, just below the temple. And down below is the Alagananda, the Ganga gushing forward, icy cold waters. So bathe in the icy cold waters. That means duality, go beyond duality. Cold, hot, go good, bad. Go and bathe in the icy cold waters of the Alagananda, and then in the boiling hot water of Taptakund, and thus gain some control over yourself, your body and your mind and your senses, and raise your Shakti up to this thing. Do tapas there for a few more years, and then you will automatically be taken to the highest of all realms. Don't worry, everything will go fine for you. But Udhhava, through the kindness of his heart, he keeps asking a number of questions. What about such people? What about Kshatriyas? What are the rules pertaining to Kshatriyas or Brahmanas or Vaishyas? What are the rules pertaining to the different states? What about sannyasis? What about householders? What about merchants? What about brahmacharis? What are there? Every single type of people available, he asks them what are their duties. And one by one the Lord will answer him and eventually takes him to the highest. But of course, as I said, Udhhava did not need any of this advice. He was also already a realized and a liberated person, because he had lived in the shadow of Lord Krishna for the whole of his life. But again, just like Arjuna was only a calf, which to milk the essence of the Upanishads from him in the Bhagavad Gita, so also here, Udhhava also plays the role of a calf, to milk the essence of sannyasa, or not only sannyasa, all the different type of things that you might find in the world which you cannot combat. There's so many questions we have. All these questions he asked for the sake of the whole world and for the future generations. And one by one, Lord Krishna clears his doubts and takes him to the highest. So this is a background of the Udhhava Geeta, and from next Saturday we will take it in full this thing. Okay? If you have questions, of course, you can ask. But now tomorrow, every Sunday, as you know, we have a Q&A at 11 and to 12. As usual, every Sunday we have this question. And if you have any questions on the Udhhava Geeta also, you can ask. But only questions relating to this introductory. The other the questions on which he gives answers to very particular questions, that it's better you listen for some time and then they will automatically be answered for you. Okay? So hopefully all of you, we will meet all of you tomorrow from 11 to 12 as we usually have. So I'm so happy to see all of you. I'm afraid I could not touch the wave because I did not want to look at the names which were coming up here, because I wanted to concentrate on the talk itself. Okay? So during this time, I will not be concentrating on your names or waving at you back. But tomorrow, yes, tomorrow I will know who all has attended, and I will surely wave back at you. Hari Om. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma kaschid dukkha bhav bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Hari